Hello, my name is Brandon Huang, and I worked on this project solo. My project is called the Portable Arcade. So, there's a distinct lack of couch multiplayer games out on the market right now. It's just not as popular as it used to be, even though I really enjoy them, and I always remember, I have a lot of fond memories playing them. So I thought to myself, how can I bring more of those out there? So, my first thought was, maybe make my own game. But that'll only bring one game, and it probably won't be very well polished. So then my next thought was, well, maybe I can make games that already exist out there more accessible to other people. There's tons of older games out there that are couch co-op and still really fun. So there's an operating system for the Raspberry Pi called RetroPie that anyone can download. So it's like an all-in-one emulation station from like the GameCube on backwards. You can emulate the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, the Atari, all sorts of stuff. So my project was to make a build that's based on a Raspberry Pi that has its own built-in monitor, speakers, and custom input system, all housed in a case that's relatively easy to carry around, and that runs off a rechargeable battery that you can bring anywhere. So let me show you a little bit about the build. Okay, so originally the plan was to build a case out of scratch, but that would have taken a lot of time and material. So what I did is I decided to take an old suitcase and use that as a sort of framework to build everything else into. So you can see that we attached all sorts of wooden pieces and mountings and bolted things into the back to build the housings for everything. So the first step was the monitor. So to mount the monitor, we used a sort of wooden lip system on the top and bottom. Let me show you the back. And on the back, an H-grid to kind of hold it in. And you can see that it's hinged, so that's easy to get inside and behind the monitor if you need to plug things in or swap cords or anything like that. And the hinge is attached to some wooden blocks which are bolted to the suitcase. So originally the plan was to have the monitor just sit flush with the level of the suitcase like that, and then just use a 90-degree hinge right here to hinge it 90 degrees upwards. But the problem with that was that the monitor was most of the weight of the build, so it was going to fall over. So the solution to that was, since we already had the hinge in there, was to have this monitor instead sit upright, but have the monitor, here, I need both my hands real quick. Have the monitor come outwards and use the wooden block on the bottom as a base to have it sit on the top plate and sort of use its own weight and the hinge to balance itself up like that, or to hold itself up. And the hinges right here keep it from going too far forward. All right, so you can see in the back here, I have a rechargeable battery hooked up right here in this hole that has the wall outlet which is plugged into the monitor, and a USB port right here which plugs into the Raspberry Pi and has a charging port on the top right there too. And here in the front, let me get a better angle, it hinges upwards so that you can access the electronics, or so you can store things down below here. All right, so the Pi itself is down there right there, and I actually attached it with Velcro strips. Let me get it out, pull it out so I can show you a little closer. I attached it with Velcro strips on the bottom of a case that I have for it, so that it can easily be removed from the build in case I need to work on it. It also came with its own built-in fan and heat sinks that I attached to the Pi as well. And it can just Velcro right back in there when I'm done with it. And here we have extra USB slots right here, 4 more of them in addition to the 4 that are already on the Pi, so you can plug in other peripherals like more controllers or keyboards or mouses and stuff like that. Okay. So for the speaker, originally it was supposed to sit underneath the monitor as it hung up at a 90-degree angle, but since we went with this solution for the monitor where it sits forward like this, we can't have the speaker sitting in front, because one, it would be sitting on the hinged portion, 2, it wouldn't be able to close when you're done using it. So instead, the speaker is down below here in the storage compartment, and when you're ready to use it, all you have to do is just pull it out and place it in front of the monitor. And you can place it wherever you want too, so if you'd rather have the speaker out on the outside, or maybe over there on the right, or somewhere else, then you can place it there as well. So, for the custom controllers, I used a kit that came with 10 buttons, 2 sets of 10 buttons and a joystick, and a USB encoder to hook it all up. So the controller box itself is made out of wood, and it's not part of the case itself. Instead, it is a USB plug-in that you can plug directly into whatever system you want to use it on. And let me show you the bottom. So here on the bottom, You can see the USB encoder right here, where each one of these ports is connected to either a button or a joystick. Here's the bottom of the joystick. The joystick is mounted in via screws and bolts, and these buttons right here are mounted in via these little, let me see if I can show you, these little black washers right here that lock the buttons into place. So you can see there's a hole right here where the cable runs out of, so that you can plug in other things. And the box itself we built using these 90-degree angle brackets that attach to hold the boards together, and then those boards are then attached to the top plate. Okay. Okay, so now when you're ready to close this thing, all you need to do is just put everything away that's on the top. So the speaker goes down below right here. And lift the top upwards and let the monitor lock backwards into place. And unfortunately, it cannot close while the battery is in there, because the battery sticks out too far. Originally, the battery was going to be below, but it was too hard to make a housing for it that would safely hold it in place. So instead, we used this sort of notch right here where the battery sits into. So you're going to have to unplug the battery and take it out. Take it out of its slot. Let me get it out. Battery's out. Here's a little closer look at the battery. It's about a 20,000 milliamp hour battery, so that means it can run this monitor and the Pi for about 4 hours ish. And the battery can go down below here in the storage compartment as well. And you close that bad boy back up. Oops, got a cable stuck in there. Close that bad boy back up. Take this, put it back forward. Latch the case, and boom, it's ready to be carried wherever you want it to. It's pretty heavy because the monitor weighs quite a bit, and the battery's pretty dense as well, so it's probably like 40 pounds-ish. So it's not super convenient to carry around, but it's not overly bulky. All right, so let me show you what it looks like when it's turned on. Okay, so here's the system when it's turned on. You can see that my controls are lit up because they're LED buttons, because you gotta have flashy lights. And you can use this to interface with the operating system itself. So here you can change your RetroPie settings, and here are your two different emulators. I only have Super Nintendo and N64 games on here right now, and they're all games that I own. And I can select one of these, and let me select Super Mario. All right, and then it gives you a little loading message. Okay, and there you go, it booted. All right, so let me show you a little bit on me playing with the controller. I'm gonna have to do it one-handed though, so. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do it with my pinky. All right. Here you can see the buttons are doing exactly what I want them to, and you can rebind the controls within RetroPie to whatever you want. So currently I have A, B, X, and Y in that order. So here's A, B, X, and Y, which don't actually do anything when I'm little Mario, and L and R are up here, with start and select being up there. So you can rebind them in RetroPie to wherever you want to, but this is just my default thing, and you can change it for different emulators. So if I want to quit, all right, if I want to quit from a game, there's a hotkey that I have right here, where I just press this button, and then boom, it takes me back to the main menu where I can select different games. Okay, so it runs games from like the Super Nintendo or the Atari a lot smoother than it does stuff like a Nintendo 64. And the Nintendo 64 games will run a lot choppier, and will take a little bit of tweaking in the video settings for each individual game to get running properly. But it's still really impressive for running just off a Raspberry. So if I wanted to plug in a different controller, oops. Say this one right here. Let me unroll this real quick. All I would need to do is just take the USB, go underneath, and plug it into the USB port, which is back there, in one of the USB ports. There we go. Place the speaker back, grab the controller, and now I can use this on the menu as well, and whatever game I want to be using it on. Okay, so for future improvements, one, obviously this is just plain old wood. Same with this box, and this case is an old suitcase. It's kind of worn out. I wanted to paint it and maybe put some designs on it to make it look a lot more finished. And I'm going to do that because I'm going to use this thing at some point, but just not yet. Another possible improvement would be this battery sitting right here is really inconvenient to take in and out. And unfortunately, there wasn't a better fix for it, and maybe there's a clever solution for getting it mounted underneath here, and it's running cables up and down through the hole. But because the battery is so thick and there's not that much space down below in here, there's maybe like 4 inches, and the battery itself is almost that thick. It's hard to build a casing for it, the other option would be just to strap it in. Plus, having the battery removable is nice because I can take it in and out. All right. Another improvement would be to get the speakers actually mounted somewhere. And I was talking about maybe putting it in the front right here and putting a hole through the suitcase and having it down here in the front. But having the speakers removable and able to move around is also a strength. So I'm okay with having it just be able to sit right in front and store underneath right for now. Another improvement is while these controller boxes were great for stuff like the Super Nintendo or the Atari, because it only has 10 buttons and 1 joystick, it doesn't do well for some of the newer stuff, like even the Nintendo 64. The Nintendo 64 has a D-pad, a joystick, 4 directional buttons, L, R, Z, and A, B, and that's more buttons than this thing has. So you can't actually bind everything, every button to a button on this controller box. But 10 buttons is great for everything for the Super Nintendo or arcade cabinet emulators or the Atari. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's my project. I'd like to thank my stepdad especially for helping with building the case. He has a lot more knowledge about power tools and woodworking than I do, and I would never have been able to do without him. So I'm Brandon Huang, and I agreed to let this video be publicly shared, even though I'm going to post it privately under YouTube. And thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.